Oh, good morning, Yankees universe. Welcome back to another episode of the Yankees Morning Brew on this Friday, September 22nd. Like always, I'm your guy Hector, joined by my co-host, Mr. TC Stills. Check out the intro and we will be right back.
Really, y'all don't know this, y'all in danger, I'm a threat. I'm a gamble with your life, cause you know that it's okay. It's okay. You know I ain't letting up, my foot is on your neck. Take my word for it, it's a promise and a threat. Really, y'all don't know this, y'all in danger, I'm a threat. I'm a gamble with your life, cause you know that it's a bet. It's a bet. You know I ain't letting up, my foot is on your neck. Take my word for it, it's a promise and a threat.
Oh, good morning, Yankees universe. Like I said, welcome back to another episode of the Yankees Morning Brew. I'm your guy Hector, always joined by my co-host, Mr. TC Stills, who's in New York City right now. TC, what it do?
What's up, everybody from New York? Check it out. Times Square,
Man
chilling.
on the streets. Man on the streets.
Looking for Yankee fans. Oh, by the way, I'm right here by. Hold on, let me check. Let me take you over here. We got a little Yankee clubhouse. You see the Yankee clubhouse?
You have the Yankee headquarters out there?
Yankee headquarters right here. Here we are.
Nice. I'ma just need you not to get robbed out there. Don't go on to doing any card shows. You know, they got people out there that be doing the card shows and be getting people for their money. So don't fall for that trick, TC.
I'm not gonna do that.
TC,
No.
I'll be seeing you in a couple hours, right? I know you just got into the city. You're enjoying the city. You got to meet up with your brother and with your father.
Right.
So I'm gonna throw it to you real quick. Shout out the chat. Let us know what's your take from last night's Gerrit Cole performance before we switch things up. Go ahead, TC.
Yeah, I had predicted a great game from Gerrit Cole. He had 9 strikeouts. I think I predicted 10. 4-1. They won 5-3. It was closer than the actual. It should have been. He pitched. Cole pitched an excellent game. Eight innings, no walks, 9 Ks, 1 run. Clay Holmes scared us in the 9th with that. Almost giving it up, but. Yeah, hats off to Gerrit Cole. He's finishing up a Cy Young season. He has to get this Cy Young. There's no way that he doesn't get it. It's all but locked up. But yeah, terrific game. I think he'll have one more start, and that'll just solidify his Cy Young award.
Yeah, I think we could basically gift the Cy Young award to Clay Holmes right now. But TC, before we continue, let's do a little bit of
not Clay Holmes.
I said to Gerrit Cole. That's what I said. Let's do a little bit of the roll call. Let's do a little bit of the roll call before we continue, TC. We got our guy NYY's numero uno, Ruben, that's in the building. Ruben, how you doing? We got our friend Mr. Sean Browning in the building. Dan C says Holmes and Torres are the Aguilar twins. I have no idea what that means, but shout out to my guy Dan C. Shout out to you. We got AK-47 in the building. My guy NFE. Anthony Medina, mi hermano de la isla, salute. My good friend AK-47 is in the building. Yankee Kyle, we appreciate you for always sharing us on your community tab, my guy. Anthony Garcia, the only Anthony Garcia we acknowledge. Garcia, what it do? Jacob Petruzzi's in the building. Jacob, my guy, how we doing? Salute, 3 capital S's. But yeah, I think we could gift the Cy Young award to Gerrit Cole right now. I'm gonna ask you, TC, because I see a lot of people were talking about Gerrit Cole. That should be his last start. Do you want to see Gerrit Cole pitch another outing, or should he just shut it down and just save it for next season? What's your thoughts before we bring up Gio and switch things up?
I get why people don't want to see him pitch again. You don't want to risk an injury for a game that means nothing. But I think the competitor that he is, I think he's going to go out and he's going to pitch one more game, probably in Toronto. So hopefully all goes well, and that'll be his last start, and then that locks up the Cy Young. But I can see the concern. I don't want to see any fluke injury or something happen in a game that really doesn't have any meaning at all. But I think Cole's going to come out and pitch one more game. I think he's going to do that, and just put a stamp on his Cy Young award.
Adjutor. Oh, I'm sorry. I just totally read it wrong. Dan C.
Adjutor.
Shout out my guy,
they
Dan
give you
C.
Adjutor.
Yeah. I just pronounced it wrong.
Yeah.
But TC, bro, I know you got to meet up with your pops and your brother. We'll be doing
go
the open panel later on. Go link up with your pops. Go link up with your brother, and then jump back on for the open panel with them. All right.
All right.
Yeah, definitely.
All right,
definitely.
everybody.
Shout
we'll
out
see
to
you
my
guys.
guy T.
We'll see you later today, and everybody tomorrow. I'll be there live and in person.
All right, bet. TC, I love you, my brother. You be safe. All right.
Peace. All right.
Peace.
Yo.
Oh, now we switching it up. Gio, how you doing, my guy? Salute to you, brother.
Yo, salute to you guys. What's up, chat? What's going on? Happy Friday.
Yeah, definitely. And I just want to shout out my guy TC. I know he's in the city. He just got into the city, so I got to give him his time to meet up with his pops, do what he got to do until he joins us later back on for the open panel. But bro, we're gonna switch it up just a little bit because like we were talking about with Gerrit Cole, that's the hot topic right now. So let's switch it up just momentarily, just a little bit, so we could talk about Mr. Gerrit Cole and his Cy Young season. For me personally, TC yesterday when we was having a conversation, he brought up the fact that he was predicting Gerrit Cole to give us 8 innings, no runs, 10 strikeouts, right? Almost did it. 8 innings, 1 run, 9 strikeouts, and he brought the perfect game. He was pitching a perfect game into that 6th inning. So, Gio, want to throw it over to you, my guy. What's your thoughts on Gerrit Cole, his performance last night, and the season he had this year?
I think it was the final stamp he needed to sit there and say, all right, I'm the Cy Young this season. It was an amazing performance. You go 16 up, 16 down. You almost pitch a perfect game. Alejandro Kirk is the freaking anti-Yankee. So, great performance. Too bad that, the pass ball scored a run. It would have been nice to have 8 scoreless. But, he fixed his mechanics. He worked on a couple things from his last start. And this is the best of Gerrit Cole. We're getting into the peak of his prime, and it just sucks that it's coming in a bad year. But congratulations to him, honestly. For real, he's earned it, he's wanted it. He probably should have won one already. But it's a great performance.
I want to ask you this, right? Because I know there's been a lot of Yankee fans that been on the fence when it comes to Gerrit Cole since he's been a Yankee, right? They've been a lot of guys has been 50-50. Last year specifically, people were calling out Gerrit Cole. He's not a real ace. He had this amazing season this year, but with the team struggling and not make the playoffs, did he answer the critics by having this type of season, or do the critics not value it because it came in a season when the team didn't even make the postseason? What's your thoughts on that real quick, bro?
I feel like the critics are freaking, they're smoking crack anyway. Just be real. Like, yes, he hasn't had Houston seasons with the Yankees. Okay. But you have to also understand, one, the East is a beast. Like these guys, every team is over 500. Everyone is great in the East too. And he starts every game. He is the true definition of a horse. This is CC Sabathia times 2. He gives you 200 innings every year. He gives you 34 starts every year. You can pencil him in for a 3 ERA every year. He is the definition of an ace. Yes, it didn't come with the World Series. It didn't come with a championship. Maybe that's the only knock you can give on him, but playoffs, besides Boston in the wild card, 2021, he's been as advertised. So, for me, he is an ace. He will always be an ace until his stuff diminishes. And even still, I think he could be like a Justin Verlander, 41 years old and still pitch well into, do well. So
Gerrit Cole, he's been able to stay healthy, knock on wood. We don't want to jinx anything for next season, but the one thing we can say about Gerrit Cole is that he's made every start as a New York Yankee. He's never been on the IL. Like you said, he's an innings eater. He gives you 200 innings at minimum. Ultimately, though, next year, I need him to start dominating the Red Sox, because the Red Sox, like you said, in our division, they have his number. When you look at the Toronto Blue Jays, Brian Hoach reported yesterday, shout out to Brian Hoach, Gerrit Cole has just allowed 1 run in his 3 starts against the Blue Jays this season. 19 2/3 innings. He leads the American League in ERA with a 2.75 ERA. He leads the American League with innings pitched at 200, with starts at 32, and he has a whip of 1.02. So normally a starting pitcher, they make 32 starts in a season. He's already at 32 starts. He got 1 more start left to go. Do you think the Yankees should shut him down and save him for next year, or let him go out there and pitch 1 more game? What's your thoughts on that? People to chat, let me know. Do you guys want Cole to shut it down, or would you like him to pitch 1 more game against the Blue Jays? Because if you look at how the starting rotations is lined up, it will be that series in Toronto.
Yeah, let him start. Don't mess with that competitive edge. Let him go out there and lower his ERA, hopefully make it unanimous. Continue to plead his case. And I don't believe in giving up until the last out is made and you're officially eliminated and this is the end of the season. Let him go. Maybe you don't let him go 8 innings, that game. You tell him, give me 5. I don't care what the outcome is. You can have a perfect game. Just give me 5. And then we'll let the bullpen take it and just, do your last start, tip your hat to the crowd, and then let's get ready for next year and let's try to get this, beat the ship.
Yeah, I just want to pause real quick before I read the rest of the graphic. I want to shout out the chat real quick. My guy, he's brought up in place for the Cy Young. Who is running up against Gerrit Cole? As of right now, it's Sonny Gray out of Minnesota. And I know a lot of Yankee fans, they feel a certain way towards Sonny Gray, right? And, honestly, it's because of Brian Cashman, the Yankees trading for Sonny Gray. But I just want to say, credit to Sonny Gray. Shout out to Sonny Gray for bouncing back. When the Yankees traded for him, I think the Yankees, their pitching staff or their coaching staff at the time, they messed up this kid in the head. They was trying to break him down to turn into a pitcher that he wasn't. He had to find himself. It took him a couple of seasons, but he's bounced back with the Minnesota Twins, and he's found himself a place over there. I'm not sure if that's the Yankees coaching staff messing him up, New York City being too much of a pressure on Sonny Gray. Whatever it is, glad Sonny Gray was able to figure it out in Minnesota. When he pitches against the Yankees, I want him to get clobbered by the Yankees every goddamn time. But I just want to say, you got to give credit where credit's due, bro.
Absolutely. And that was Mel Stoudemire. I think Sonny Gray talked about it on that CC podcast.
That was still Mel Stoudemire?
I think so. Who was it? Who was it before?
It was the pitching coach that was right before
what's his name?
Blake.
I think it was Mel. If not, I'm wrong. The chat could correct me.
No, I don't think it was Mel Stoudemire. The people in the chat, let us know the name of the pitching coach before it was Matt Blake. Let us know in the chat real quick.
Rothschild. There you go. My fault.
Rothschild.
They talked about it in that CC pod where they were telling him to pitch a certain way.
Like Sean said,
kind of
what's
like
his
Jordan
name?
Montgomery. Kind of like the Jordan Montgomery, where they were messing with his pitch mix that he wasn't comfortable. And it is what it is. And you know what? The Yankees are doing this a lot with their hitters, with their even with their some of their pitchers that left. There's a lot. We can get into this later, but this is a lot of players that leave, and you hear stuff and you just scratch your head.
We'll get into it later when we bring up Brian Cashman, because that's a topic we have to go over. But when you look at it this year, Aaron Hicks goes to Baltimore. He finds himself in Baltimore. Even in the short period of time, Josh Donaldson with the Milwaukee Brewers, he has 2 home runs so far with the Brewers. So even Josh Donaldson has been able to figure it out with the Milwaukee Brewers. So is it a Yankee thing? I'm not too sure. But my guy Joe Randanzo on Twitter, shout out to Joey Rand, he said the Yankees are garbage, but Gerrit Cole is not. Look how nasty he was tonight, talking about Cole. We are at a point where guessing anybody but Cole to be the Cy Young is just trolling. If the Yankees wanted to end his season on a high note and just shut him down, it's the perfect ending to his year, at least as an individual player. It's just unfortunate we're seeing such a great season wasted on a year like this. I'm sure if you ask Cole, he'll trade the Cy Young for a World Series title. And I think all of us fans feel the same way. This Yankee season this year hasn't been the best, right, Gio? Especially over the past 20 years, 23 years or whatever, since 2000. This has not been one of the better seasons as a Yankee fan to watch this team. Even as a content creator, it's kind of hard at nighttime when I'm scratching my head trying to come up with these topics. And sometimes I'll be just pulling shit out my ass when it comes to what we're going to talk about for the next day. You know, that's why I always got to give credit to the other Yankee content creators like you, like my guy Pete Seminetti, who calls every single bloody game. Shout out to my bro Pete. Derek from NYY Recap, who does the post game for every single game. My guy Jason from 161 River Ave, who does the post game. You got the Yankee Avenue. You got John Boy in them that they do the post game as well. My friend Stacy Gasulias from Locked On Yankees. You know, so there's a lot of Yankee content creators and a lot of Yankee fans that this hasn't been the perfect season for us Yankees. But the one thing we were able to enjoy this year has been Gerrit Cole. And I think the outside influence of the fans, he's been able to tone out the fans. And also I know Carlos Rodon hasn't had the better season of his career pitching for the Yankees, has been injured or whatever. But when you look at that dugout, you see Gerrit Cole and Carlos Rodon talking constantly. When Carlos Rodon is pitching, you see how animated Gerrit Cole is talking to Carlos Rodon. I didn't see that last year when Jameson Taillon was on the team. And him and Jameson Taillon was like close friends going back to Pittsburgh. So I didn't see that real quick. Go ahead, Gio.
Yeah, he's finally looking comfortable. And you can see that he's embracing his role. He's embracing, New York. Because you have to understand, he signed 2019 off season. 2020 was COVID, already messed up his first year here, right? And then 2021, you had the lockout, right? And then 2022, you had the semblance of the first easy or regular type of season. All right. Then he continues to struggle in the AL East, and then I feel like this year he's starting to figure it out. You're seeing these guys more often. I know the sticky stuff hurt him, and he had to relearn how to pitch. And it's taking its time, but I think we're in for a great stretch of the next 2 to 3 seasons of watching a really good, polished, comfortable Gerrit Cole. Where if we can, get the Yamamoto, get Rodon now fixed and straightened out, you can have a really, really fun rotation like we were expecting this season. Maybe it's just the prelude to what we should expect next year.
Yeah. And I think you bring up a good point. The pandemic shortened season, that was crazy. Coming back into 2021, you had to deal with an off season of still having that gray area when it comes to the lockdowns and what you can do, what you can't do. 2022 was the lockout season, right? So coming into the season, he had to deal with the whole lockout. So this off season, coming into the 2023 season, was the first time since 2019 he had a regular off season when it comes to getting ready and preparing for the season. And I think a word that you use is real important, talking about how comfortable he was. And you see how comfortable he is. Now, you can see he's taken that role of a leadership a lot more serious than years prior. He has taken the role that CC Sabathia, when you brought up CC, that CC had as being the number one guy. Yankee fans knew he was the ace of the team, but I think he's embracing being the vocal leader of that pitching staff, right? That's what I'm saying. Look at the conversations he has with Carlos Rodon. Look at the conversations he has with the catchers, right? As well, Higgy and Ben Rohrback, right? That's what I keep on saying. His relationship with Benny Rohrback is hilarious. He just constantly screams at him.
But I think Benny likes it. He likes that shit.
It's the big brother, little brother relationship. Yeah, exactly. Maybe a little kink there also. But shout out to my guy Dan C in the chat, who said one of the few good things Cashman did was hiring Matt Blake away from Cleveland. Absolutely. When you see the relationship Gerrit Cole has, not only with Matt Blake, with the guy on the screen, Andy Pettitte. We'll talk about Andy Pettitte later on. And shout out to my guy DSJ, who just loves trolling people in the chat. He said, if Hector shaved the beard but keeps the sass, wouldn't he look like Nestor Cortez Jr.? Yes, absolutely would. All right, I absolutely would, because every Latino looks alike. All right, DSJ. So let's switch it up momentarily, because TC and I, we talked about it yesterday, and then an article came out from the New York Post talking about Giancarlo Stanton. So that got a lot of people talking on the internet. So we have to have the conversation again when it comes to Giancarlo Stanton. But I wanted to put this out there because we talked about it yesterday on the show, talking about if Giancarlo Stanton is still injured. Has he fully recovered from that hamstring issue that he had early in the season? Before he pulled his hamstring, Giancarlo Stanton was batting .269. He had a .296 on base percentage. He had a .558 slugging, which gave him an 854 OPS. He had a weighted runs created WRC plus of 131, and he was striking out 20% of the time. After that hamstring injury, he's batting .174. He has a .267 on base percentage, a .398 slugging, 668 OPS, a WRC plus of 80, and he's striking out 30% of the time. The WRC plus means he is 20 points. He is 20 points worse than your average MLB player. Gio, what's your thoughts?
I don't know. But he's always hurt too. So it's one of those situations where, you know, even if the hamstring is bothering him, he has to start to learn to play through some of these things, because if what the reports of everyone's saying, all the content creators are saying that his knees are done and they're shot, then he has to learn to adapt and then now become a different type of player, and play through some of these injuries. And I don't know how. Now, in the back of my mind, knowing that Stanton is a professional athlete making so much money, that he is not going to be okay with how he performed this season. So I am back in my mind, I'm hoping that, all right, maybe he comes back next season with something to prove and, just comes out guns blazing. But even if he does, like he started the season this year, he could start hot and then get hurt and then just revert back to the Stanton that we know. And it's just scary because you have so much time left in his contract. He looks like he is done as a professional athlete, at least middle of the bat guy. And then he can't play the outfield. So he's just in a bad and tough situation. And it's fortunate that he's a Yankee during this time.
I like Giancarlo Stanton because I like how he carries himself, right? I like the fact that if this is, according to the rumors, he wanted to be a Yankee because of his friend Jose Fernandez, who passed away. Rest in peace, Jose Fernandez. I get that. I understand that. I like that. But when you look at the stats and when you look at the money that's attached to it also, and then you look at the fact that he's only a DH, he can't play the outfield. His defense in the outfield is atrocious. He can't run around the bases at this stage of his career. All of the things that I like about Giancarlo Stanton, it doesn't weigh against the negatives, if you understand what I mean. When you're weighing it out, the negatives, they pop out more than any positives that there. 2018, when we traded for him, he played the over 150 games. Amazing. Ever since 2018, he has not been able to crack over 130 games. He is on pace to play less games this year than he did last year. I don't know how the Yankees can make this happen. I know yesterday TC and I was talking about possible trades. I don't think there's a GM out there that's going to help Brian Cashman out when it comes to trading for Giancarlo Stanton. It's going to have to be a mutual buyout agreement. I want to ask you, if you were Giancarlo Stanton, is that something you're entertaining, or do you want to come back with a chip on your shoulder to try to prove it next year? People to chat, do you think Giancarlo Stanton, he deserves the chance to come back next year to try to prove it? And then after next year, that's when we have that conversation. What's your thoughts, Gio?
I think he's going to want to prove it. As a professional athlete and as anyone with just pride in general, you're not going to want to sit there and bow out and just say, F it, I couldn't make it, and I'll just take a lump sum of money and disappear into the sunset. you know, he has a lot to play for. He's, you know, he's chasing 500 home runs. You know, he wants certain accolades so that he can solidify his career and potentially become a Hall of Famer, or at least there's conversations in those ballots. So he's gonna want to prove it, man. And a buyout, I don't necessarily see that he will ever want to go ahead and do that, on maybe until he has one of those injuries where he probably can't play no more. But we're in a tough situation with him, and the only thing we can as Yankee fans just hope for is that he just bounces back. And Ruben said this in the chat, and I agree with him. I think he just needs to focus on contact, like the hard hitting home runs or bust thing. Like, you know, just focus on putting the ball in play, more, and then just get that average up. Maybe everything else will play after that. Maybe the home runs will come after that, and everything else will just improve.
I don't know, man. My guy Damien in chat. Shout out to Damien Serrano, and also shout out to everybody that's in the chat. We got about 40 people in here. If you guys can, please smack that like button. Let's run up the likes real quick on the stream. But Damien says he deserves it. Absolutely. Samantha says no, Stanton needs to go, but we're stuck with him. My guy Sean Browning says he deserves a prove it next year. The whole offseason, the whole offense aside from Judge has been piss poor. Has been poor performance this year. Ruben says, I appreciate Stanton. Stanton, I need to do better, and I'm frustrated. Gallo, I don't care. I just hit home runs and walks. And that right there from Ruben, right? Those two quotes you hear from Stanton. And this is the one thing us Yankee fans, we like about Giancarlo Stanton. This is the only thing we can say out of everyone that's been on the team. There's been no one that holds himself accountable the ways that Giancarlo Stanton holds himself accountable, not only to the media, but to the fan base as well. When the fans are booing him, he'll let people know, yeah, they're booing me because I'm struggling right now. I said it yesterday on yesterday's show. If you watch that post game, not from last night's game, but from the game prior, because Giancarlo Stanton didn't play last night. So from the game prior, if you watch that game, that post-game press conference, that's a version of Giancarlo Stanton I've never seen. He sounds defeated. And I don't think he wants anyone to feel bad for him. He's just frustrated with himself. Go ahead, Gio.
Yeah, he is. And you know, it's great and all, like the whole accountability thing. I appreciate it, but this is next 2024 is the last year of the accountability that's going to be okay for him in my eyes. It's been too many years now. You're talking about 1.5 year plus of Stanton hitting 200 or worse. So this is we're getting into the territory of now you gotta put up or shut up, because we can't continue to like harbor this type of play, especially at his salary. Like, you know, he's on the books for 35 mil, but the Marlins gonna play 10. But you just think about that. He's a $35 million player, and he can't hit above 200. You know, OPS can't get above 750. So, you know, OPS plus is at what, 83. So it's like we can't continue to pay a player like that. So this is it. Like, this is the season. He has to go into this off season and figure everything out, whether he needs to go and do some exploratory surgery to get some new knees, some new legs, if he needs to lose some weight or drop some muscle mass so that he can focus on contact. It's something has to give this off season, and excuses and the accountability is only going to get you so far. I think next year.
Over the next 5 seasons, Giancarlo Stanton is owed a total of $128 million. 98 of that is coming from the Yankees. The Yankees have to pay him $98 million. $30 million is coming from the Miami Marlins. The Marlins will have to start kicking in at the 2025 to 2027 season. Like I said, Joe Sermon put out an article yesterday, and it seems like the conversation is not if the Yankees and Giancarlo Stanton will come to a buyout, but the conversations is starting to shift when it comes to baseball insiders to when Giancarlo Stanton and the New York Yankees are going to have that buyout. Like I said, Joe Sermon yesterday put out that article with the New York Post that says, I don't think Howard Steinbrenner is there yet, when it comes to that conversations. The Yankees waited through a lot of failure before cutting Aaron Hicks. With 3+ years left on his deal, they waited for Josh Donaldson with a month before they let go of him. Steinbrenner should have a lot of questions regarding the Aaron Hicks fix on why he went to Baltimore and was able to fix himself. Same thing with Milwaukee and Josh Donaldson. But both Aaron Boone and hitting coach Sean Casey spoke about the work that needs to be done in the offseason. And like Ruben put in the chat, I think in the offseason with Sean Casey will help out Giancarlo Stanton. Because like I said, when you look at the Yankees walk rate, when you look at the Yankees pitch per at bat, they all have gone up, and the Yankees are number 1 in baseball. I brought up that stat yesterday when it comes to Sean Casey. So I think an offseason with Sean Casey can help Giancarlo Stanton, but I'm not sure if Sean Casey can help Giancarlo Stanton stay healthy. That's the issue. I don't think Aaron Boone, I don't think there's no coach out there that's going to help this man stay healthy, and that's the issue. His ability to hit the baseball, that's never comes to question, right? But it's his ability to stay healthy. Shout out to my guy Alex Valerio that's in the chat right there. What's your thoughts on that before we switch over to the next convo?
You're 100% right. And you know what? This will go against Brian Cashman and, you know, his future as a Yankee. But I will go into the offseason pitching you can see, you know, every time a player leaves, they do better. You know, there's something wrong with us. You can fix Giancarlo. Like, you know, if you pitch it to a team like, hey, maybe he goes to you guys and you can fix him because we have a track record. We can't fix our own players. So maybe that's how you can entice the team to say, maybe I take, you know, 30% salary of Stanton and try to fix the guy versus, you know, us trying to keep him. But it doesn't look good for the Yankees, man. And especially if they do find a way to pull off a trade and Stanton goes to be in who Stanton was prior to 2018, then we have some issues.
Yeah, 100%. I want to shout out a few people in the chat before we switch the topic. Shout out to my guy Nix100 that is in the building. Salute. My guy Eric Wallace is in the building. Samantha T, how you doing, Samantha T? My guy AK47, you got a great comment right here. Stanton literal lifeline is his $98 million. If it wasn't for the money, Stanton would have been gone. You can teach him to become a better baseball player, but you can't teach a player to stay healthy. Absolutely, AK47. And then I think Dan C also put in a comment that I want to highlight too. And this is a great point too when it comes to Josh Donaldson. If Josh Donaldson was accountable, should we have kept him in the lineup? Absolutely not. No way. And I think that's to mention when it comes to Giancarlo Stanton, right? Dan C, if we had it our way, I think majority of us Yankee fans would want to part ways with Giancarlo Stanton. Not because he can't play baseball, not because he's a horrible human being, but the stage that he is at in his career, it's not going to help this team get to a championship. Like I said, he cannot field. He cannot play defense. He cannot run. He can't even stay healthy, and he's eating a big part of your payroll. Even if you decide to walk away, you still have to pay him the money. It'll still be attached to the payroll. But the fact that we didn't go after certain free agents because we had Giancarlo Stanton, the fact that in the future, Aaron Judge is going to have to be more of a DH than the outfielder and then an outfielder. That's why we need to open up that DH spot. When the Yankees were winning championships in the late 90s and even in 2009, we didn't have one player locked into the DH role. The Red Sox did that with David Ortiz because David Ortiz is a Hall of Famer. We didn't have that with the Yankees. It was a rotating DH because we had older veteran players. And I think that's how the approach should be for 2024. What's your thoughts, Gio? And then we'll kick it over to the next topic.
Yeah, I'll keep this short. You're right. There shouldn't be I don't believe in it of a designated DH, like a guy that's every day he's your DH. I feel like a DH should be used as a rotating door to move guys around. You know, Yankees have too many infielders. This is a great way to keep one of those infielders without having to trade, say, Gleyber Torres. You could keep him and have him rotate through that DH. DJ LeMahieu. You know, he could play multiple positions, but do you really trust him as he's getting older to play third base or play first base. So
Anthony Rizzo coming back from his injury.
So this is where this DH, and then you can maybe even start to entertain the idea of Shohei Ohtani. Like, all right, he might not need to be able to play 5 days, 7 days a week. Maybe he just plays 5 because he has going through his elbow surgery. So there goes, it's tons of options if you can get Stanton off of your roster. And David Ortiz, that's just a that's a unicorn. So those are the instances where you have a designated DH, David Ortiz type
players.
Yeah,
like Sean Browning says, David Ortiz and Edgar Martinez, those are Hall of Famers, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Red Sox won multiple championships with David Ortiz. I'm not arguing against, I'm not anti-DH. No, not whatsoever. Not at all. But I just got one more stat about Giancarlo Stanton, and we switch over the topic. My guy, Evil Empire on Twitter. Make sure you guys go follow Evil Empire. All the people that I show up on the graphics from their Twitter, make sure you guys go follow them on Twitter. They put out real good Yankee content. My guy, Evil Empire, said Giancarlo Stanton in his past 10 games, not including tonight because he didn't play yesterday, he is currently 0 for 30. He has 0.57 batting average. Wait, hold on. He has an 0.57 batting. He has 2 hits, 16 strikeouts in his last 10 games. At what point do the Yankees eat their loss and cut ties with him? And I think that's a conversation that will be happening in the future. But let's switch the topics because today is Friday, September 22nd, which is Fire Brian Cashman Day at Yankee Stadium. I know a lot of Yankee fans, they were hyping this up, and it kind of lost the steam once Jason Dominguez came up and the Martian was mashing it. But as soon as he went on the IL and got the surgery for Tommy John, it seems like Fire Brian Cashman Day is back on. But
yes, sir.
Brian Cashman and his status quo, it has to stop. The way that Brian Cashman has been operating and controlling this team, it has to stop. One of the guys on Twitter, my guy Chris, he pointed out a Yankee fan, and this is the one thing that annoys me sometimes. The guy Jed on Twitter says it was one bad season out of 30. Still will likely finish above 500. We don't know that yet. It happens and changes are needed. Cash and Boone will be back, giving Twitter months and more relief for their frustrations. I'm going to ask you, Gio. Yeah. Should we look past this because it's just once in every 30 seasons? It's just 1 out of 30. Should we look past this and just let bygones be bygones when it comes to Brian Cashman?
Hell no. For the last I feel like it's been 3 years now. He's been stacking righties in a stadium that's built for lefties. He's built lineups with one-dimensional players. This 3 true outcome: walk, home run, or strikeout. Like, you can't. The game is passed about. You know what Brian Cashman reminds me of? The Candy Pez.
Yeah, I hate those joints.
They're
nasty to me.
Who the hell buys Pez, right? Who likes that? But they're still around. They're very, they're everywhere, right? But no one cares and caters for them. That's Brian Cashman. Like, he's just a Pez. He's here, and we can't get rid of him. Or Hal doesn't want to get rid of him. He needs to go. We need fresh, new blood in the organization. It's stale. Even the brand is getting stale. Yankee games are boring. If the young kids coming up, it brought some life and some enthusiasm, but the games are just boring. A lot of the players don't look like traditional Yankees. Yes, they're cleaned up, they're buttoned up, but they don't look like what a Yankee looks like. I grew up, 90s kids always talk about back in the day, but back in the day, it was a different era and it's a different type of attitude they played with. And this team doesn't have that. They're like, I don't know. It's hard to put into words how I feel about this team, but Cashman got to go. Boone, I don't even care if he's here or not because they're managers of puppets. But it starts with the head of the snake,
especially now.
Cashman.
Yeah, especially nowadays. Listen, when it comes to Brian Cashman, over the past 30 years that he's been a part of the organization, even more than that, he's been a part of the Yankees organization since the 80s. Like, I joke around that, like, when he got hired by the Yankees, Red Fox had a show on TV in the 80s. That's when he started working with the Yankees back in the 80s. But he served his purpose. right? He served his time. He did good while he was here, especially in the late 90s. Cool copy. People want to give him credit. They don't got to give him credit. But the 2009 championship, awesome. We've been able to be relevant while Brian Cashman has been the GM. Not many GMs can say that, right? I'm not sure if that's credit towards Cashman or credit to the ownership that just allows him to spend money, spend money, spend money.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Brian Cashman, just give him that promotion so you could bring in someone new. Let him oversee something. Let him be president of baseball operations. You backstage, we was talking about Kim. What's her last name?
Kim.
I don't want to butcher it. Kim, yeah, who's with the Miami Marlins. She's gonna be a free agent. Her contract is done after the season. She started with the Yankees. She's someone that should have got a job years before she got a job, right? But like I said, she came under Brian Cashman. She came under the Yankee organization. This is not an outsider you're bringing in. You're bringing back someone that was a part of your organization, went to Miami. It wasn't all sunshine and peaches in Miami, but look at that overturn that happened while she was there as the GM. Sandy Alcantara, even though this year he didn't have a good season, he was a Cy Young winner last year.
Yeah.
Look at the great young talent that they had. So if you look at Kim Ng, like I said, someone that was a part of the Yankee organization, someone who came under Brian Cashman, I think that would be the perfect replacement for Brian Cashman while he gets a promotion to some whatever title. Make that shit up. Just give him a bonus. Do whatever you got to do.
Yeah, I think the universe is aligning that, you know, with how potentially doing this audit with Kim Ng, her contract was finally made publicized because no one knew she was going to potentially be a free agent. So this is relatively new news from like the last week or so. So I think the universe is starting to align where you finally have an opportunity or an out with Cashman. If you if Howard really wanted to shake things up and make the fan base happy and give him time, or give the fan base time, or him time with the fan base, to let the young kids work their kinks out in the majors and potentially get us back on track for 2025, 26. This is a great way to do it. You know, you don't have to fire Cashman if that's your best friend. You know, fire Randy Levine. What the hell does he do? You know, like make Cashman the vice president of the Yankees, and then let Kim come in and with Sabian and Manaea and figure this whole thing out. I feel like if she comes on board, Stanton probably really is gone. If she comes on board, I feel like Rizzo will be gone. She will want to get younger, and a lot of these veteran players, expiring contracts, DJ, Glaber, all of these guys, even though Glaber's young, but the expiring contract part, you know, we'll shake things up and we can potentially start to grow for that 25 season where we can have Jason back and, you know, Wells hopefully rocking and rolling, Ben Rice up here. You know, and we won't waste too many years of Cole and Judge because it's getting to the point where these guys are not getting younger. And I don't trust Cashman to build the team, the necessary team around them to go on a run. And I don't want to win one championship though. Like I don't want to spend all this money on Cole and Judge and just win one ring. Like I want another dynasty. There has not been a dynasty in baseball since the 90s Yankees. Like we need another dynasty, and it has to be a Yankee team. It can't be no Houston team. Damn sure not going to be no Oriole team. We need to make sure that it happens again, and it's a Yankee team.
We're in a drought, bro. This is a World Series drought. You know, the 90s, they dealt with it, you know, from the big difference between 1996 and from the last time they won a championship. We're in the middle of a drought right now, and we need to get back to the World Series, and we need to do whatever we can. My guy Gary on Twitter says, the New York Yankees status quo on the Brian Cashman and listed this disaster season. The left field hole is an ongoing issue that's been ongoing for 3 years now. The position that went unaddressed, elevating Cashman to a senior management job and hiring a new GM to run the day-to-day operations may be the answer. They need a new voice. Like we just been saying, Kim Yang would be the perfect replacement with Brian Sabian and Omar Minaya. Make that happen, right? I know I was talking about Rachel Baldzak, who is the minor league coach for the New York Yankees for the Tampa Bay Tarpons. She expressed how she wants to work in the front office sooner rather than later. And that's someone that I'm gonna tell you guys, if you guys get a chance to go watch the Tampa Bay Tarpons, go watch the Tampa Bay Tarpons so you can see how she manages. I kid you not. This is the first time I ever see, and I've been to minor league games and stuff, a bunch of them, whether it's the Brooklyn Cyclones, whether it's the Yankees. I've been to a bunch of minor league games. But Rachel is the only manager that I've seen that while she's managing the game, she's on the first baseline as the first base coach, or she's on the third baseline as the third base coach. That has been the only manager that I've seen going to minor league baseball that has done that. Now, the times I've been there, I've seen her in the times I've seen her, she may have randomly done that, and that just may have been an anomaly. But the times that I've seen her, she's done that. And to me, that impresses me a lot. I want to shout out the chat real quick before we continue. My guy Dan C. No, Anthony Garcia had a chat that I wanted to highlight, and I think it was an amazing chat. Hold on 1 second. Give me 1 second to find it. Hold on. I apologize. Anthony Garcia said, I'm kind of glad this season happened. The entire front office, they needed a wake-up call. They think that they are the best front office in baseball. And I cannot disagree with Anthony Garcia right there. Mm-hmm. I definitely can't, because did we want this season to happen? No, we did not want this season to happen. Not making the playoffs, being on the 500, last place in the AL East majority of the season. We did not want this to happen. Was this season necessary for a wake-up call when it comes to Howard Steinbrenner switching things up with the front office? Absolutely. A wake-up call was needed, and that was only going to happen if we had this type of a season. That's the only way the wake-up call was happening. It was great when Jason Dominguez came up. He was killing it. He burst onto the scene, but then he went on the IL. But it was like that week that Jason Dominguez was up here, it kind of felt like Brian Cashman was able. You ever seen that meme with Homer Simpson just falling back into the bushes?
Yeah,
that's what it seemed like with Brian. When Jason Dominguez was up here doing his thing, making noise, Brian Cashman was just falling back into the bushes. He was like, you see, we did the right thing with Jason Dominguez. But then Jason Dominguez won on the IL, and then the spotlight was put back on Brian Cashman.
Yeah. I think the only person that could have predicted this season happening was Michael Caputo. He's been saying the world is burning since what?
Shout out to Michael Caputo. Yeah.
No, yeah,
you're right though. No, him, Michael Caputo, and LI Yankee King. Even though they're like trolls in our community, they're right. They've been the ones saying that this team's not going to make it to the postseason. This team needs this. This team needs that. And at the end of the season, a broken clock is right twice out the day at least, right?
Yeah, and you know what? Thinking back at it, I'm like, the Yankees. The reason what saved them the last few years is that they beat up on bad teams, and they got fat in that regard with their record and allowed them to go into the postseason or clinch a playoff spot. But looking back at it, the glaring issues, the red flags were always there, and I think right now this was a culmination of like everything just cascading into itself, and there's no way for the Yankees to dig themselves out of this. And this is what was needed for Hal to realize, like, okay, this philosophy, this formula, this algorithm that this analytic guys have is not working. The most war on the field does not yield results. It might have done that the last couple years, but the league is getting better. Like, every team is getting better. This is not, 10 years ago, you had teams that stunk up the joint. You still have a few of them, but a lot of teams are getting better, bro. A lot of teams are approaching that 500 mark, all across the league. It's not as easy as it once was a few years ago.
Mm-hmm. I think we got some breaking news, and Adam Landsman put this in the chat. If somebody can confirm it, let's confirm it. Breaking news: the Yankees recalled right-hand pitcher Yorandis Gomez from AA Somerset. He is the 94th ranked prospect in Baseball America. They placed Wandy Peralta on the 15-day IL with a left tricep strain. Wandy is. You got to talk. Let's talk about Wandy real quick, bro. Before we move on. Is Wandy coming back next year? Are you bringing Wandy back next year?
I wouldn't bring anyone
No,
back that's on this team that's on an expiring contract. I wouldn't bring anyone back. It's time
just
to
clean
just get
clean
younger.
house.
Yeah, clean
Yeah.
house. Like just start over, like a blank canvas. You look at what you have that you can't get rid of.
Mm-hmm.
You look at what you can get rid of and what you can get back for it. You know, I know a lot of people love Gleyber Torres. They don't want him to trade it. Me, I would trade him last year. Um, I would only trade him if you get a good enough package back. Um, and you just rock, yo. You got to play these young kids. I said this on my show a few times. The other teams, the philosophy they do is that they build their lineups, they build their roster with what's in the system, and then they go out in the free market and they'll buy pitching or supplemental
Mm-hmm.
bats. And this is what we need to get back to. Just building within our farm system, cheap bats that you can replace and move and plug and play. Because
Mm-hmm.
if let's say Peraza doesn't work out in 2 years, he's cheap. To DFA him, trade him,
True.
and find someone else. But you can't do that with like DJ or Stanton. You see how that's becoming a problem now. These inflated contracts,
True.
you can't move them, but cheap kids, you can.
Yeah, no, true. Shout out to my guy Alex and Luca from the Big Blue Podcast. Yes, I can't wait to see my guys tomorrow. My guy Alex and Luca. I can't wait to see Alex and Luca. I can't wait to see Derek from NYY Recap. My brother Pete, my guy Gio. Those of you in the chat that will be there. I know people are asking about the weather. It seems like it is going to rain tomorrow, but I don't give a damn. I'm buying me a poncho and I'm still showing up because I need to get my food. Right, that's the one thing. I need to get my food from the Audi Suites, and second, I need to hang out with the familia. The NYYU family will be in the building, so make sure you guys show up. Also, we got 45 of y'all in the building. Smack that like button.
Let's go.
AK-47 said, "Do you think it won't be canceled?" I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm going there. I'm not having that thought in my head if it's going to get canceled. If it gets canceled, it gets canceled. I'm still showing up no matter what. And absolutely, Anna Marie, I want the food. Okay, I'm not going to turn down some lamb chops. Are you kidding me, Anna Marie? Them Ville chops are amazing. Anthony Garcia knows what I mean. The Ville chops were popping. But let's switch topics. From Brian Cashman to the other person that we got to talk about, Aaron Boone, and his future with the New York Yankees. Brian Hoach talked about it. He put it out there. Aaron Boone was asked about his job security, and this is what Aaron Boone had to say. Boone said, "That's ultimately not my decision. My job is to try as best as I can to get this team ready and go out and put us in the best position, not only tonight, but moving forward. I'm going to continue to do the best of my ability. I'm just going to do my job." When it comes to Aaron Boone, I think if anyone is going to get let go, because we're talking about like the Yankees are going to get an outside consultant to evaluate this team. I think if anyone is to go, it will be Aaron Boone. I think Aaron Boone is going to be the sacrificial lamb. I think he definitely is going to. It's either that, or is either they bring it back and they feel the wrath from the fan base next year. But this is the thing: if Aaron Boone goes, does Sean Casey stay? Because I want to see Sean Casey come back again as the hitting coach.
Yeah, I don't think he would stay. There's a couple other coaches that are up. Their contracts are up as well. Honestly, I think Boone has overstayed his welcome. He's not the right manager for this group. I think when the team is, how they started maybe the beginning of 2020, where they were, flirting with 98 and stuff like that, the type of record, he's a great manager because he's hands off, right? He doesn't need to inspire and rally the troops to get them going. He could just let them do them, enjoy their locker room, play music, have fun. But now when the time is getting rough and you need to get the most out of you guys, you need to push them and inspire them. I don't think he's that type of manager. I don't think he has that in him. And that's the guy we need right now. We need a little bit of a drill sergeant. We need someone to sit there and tell Gleyber, you can't be making these plays once a week. Once a week, he's making a Boone head play, all puns intended, a Boone head play and costing us a game, costing us outs, costing us runs. And any other manager, I feel like would have sat him down and talked about this. And if he doesn't fix it, benched him. So he needs to go regardless of anything else. But he will be the sacrificial lamb. And it's just, I just don't know who you replace him with, because options are limited. And I like Sean Casey. To your point, I would love to see him come back, but I only think he's here if his buddy is you know, the manager.
Same.
You know, that's another thing. Like everyone's like friends. It's like kumbaya in the Yankees clubhouse. This shit is work. This shit is, you know, it's not go and hang out with your buddies. The whole Yankee organization is like that.
Yeah. This is, like you said, it's work at the end of the day. You got to come in, you got to be able to do your job. If you can't do your job, they'll find someone else to replace you. That's how it is at a regular job. That's how it is where I used to work, where you work at a Geo, where Celso works. And like this is you have to be able to do your job. If not, you get replaced. I've seen a lot of people like Anna Marie in the chat just threw up Wally Backman will make them cry and bench them all. For me, I want Willie Randolph, bro. I want Willie Randolph to come back as a manager, and I want I don't think. Yes, Willie Randolph went, and he was the manager of the Mets. I don't think that should have happened. He should have stood as the bench coach, and when Joe Torre decided to hang it up, his replacement, it shouldn't have been Joe Girardi. Should have been Willie Randolph. Willie Randolph should be the option as the manager of this team. When you look at when Willie Randolph is there in spring training, whenever he's around, people got smiles on their face, right? I know a lot of people say, oh, Aaron Boone is good because he gets along with the players. Willie Randolph, those players love him. The relationship he was able to build with Anthony Volpe, the relationship he has with Aaron Judge, those players like Willie Randolph. So if you want someone that the players could like, it's Willie Randolph, right? Also, my guy Gary on Twitter says, Aaron Judge voiced his support for Aaron Boone to remain as the Yankees manager. There's, in my mind, no better guy for that position. He's in the trenches with us. He fights with us every single day. That's who you want next to you when you're going into battle. This is Aaron Judge talking about Aaron Boone. Granted, the captain of your team is not going to come out at the end of the season and say, you know what, our manager sucked. I don't want to play for him next year. So Aaron Boone he's just trying to save face. He's just trying to be good to his manager, show a little support for his manager. But like you said, if there are going to be changes, I think the only change that will happen when it comes to the big two, Boone and Cashman, it will be Boone before anything. Before anybody else, it will be Boone. And when it comes to Willie Randolph, right, not only is this a move to bring in a former Yankee, a former captain, this is also a culture move at the same time. Yeah. You got to think of it. If Willie Randolph, if he gets hired as the Yankees manager, that'll be the first time in Yankees history that they hire a black person to be their manager. Yes. Right? I know Elston Howard was the manager in the 80s, but that was because of the manager passing away at the time.
Yeah, he wasn't appointed.
You know, he wasn't appointed. Willie Randolph, and there will be no Yankee fan out there that would say Willie Randolph doesn't deserve the job, because you've seen he's been managing with the Mets. He was Carlos Beltran was a hit away from getting them back to the World Series. The culture switch that happened in Queens because of Willie Randolph. That's what we want. We need a culture switch here when it comes to the New York Yankees. What's your thoughts on that before we switch it up on the topic?
Yeah, if Willie wants it, I would give it to him, because, you know, you made a great point that the players like him, and you can have a player's manager, a player that you know, the guys like, they could come talk to, confide in, talk about experiences. How did he, you know, work through slumps? How did he handle successes? All that good stuff is great, but you also need someone like Willie, that he was a captain. He understood what it meant to be a Yankee. See, Boone was here for a half a season. So he never got to fully understand what it means to be a Yankee. He had the opportunity, and his I keep cursing, I'm sorry. He keeps on. He went and played basketball in the offseason and tore up his knee. You know, stupid decisions like that. This is who is leading us. So Willie's been here. He knows what it takes to win. He's been a captain. He knows what it is to be a Yankee. That would be a great, him and Donnie Baseball. Those are the only real two options I see right now. As, you know, if you're going a new manager route, you need someone with experience, someone that's a little tougher on the guys, and they just are Yankees. They know the tradition of New York and know that this is not an easy place to play. and that it was World Series a bust. This play, just make the playoffs, just get into the dance thing needs to stop. We need to go all the way. And
Yeah.
I like Willie. I think that's a great choice.
And when it comes to Willie Randolph is the only Yankees captain that didn't come up in the Yankees minor league system. Willie Randolph came up with Milwaukee, and the Yankees traded for him. Willie Randolph won over the fan base with his hard work, with his hustle. That was what Willie was known for his hustle. If there's a manager that could preach hustle, it's definitely Willie Randolph. And like a lot of people that's in the chat, Anna Marie said it, Willie, he won't let the umpires bully him. That's a fact right there. If you guys remember, in the early 2000s, before Willie Randolph went and became the manager for the Mets, he was always getting tossed out of games. Like Joe Torre, he was the voice, like the anger behind the frustrations from Joe Torre. It was Willie Randolph, and Willie Randolph got thrown a lot out of games. I think he learned that from Don Zimmer as well, who also was someone who was getting tossed out of games left and right. But let's switch
sitting
it
down
up.
Yapping.
Let's switch, sitting down and the yapping. Let's switch it up momentarily before we open it up to the open panel, because we got to talk about something that it came up like a month or so ago. A lot of fans were speculating that maybe this could be something for the future, but we got to talk about Andy Pettitte and his possibility of joining the coaching staff. He's a part of the team, and right now, but being part of the coaching staff in 2024. The New York Post reported that ex-Yankee Andy Pettitte, he's taken Carlos Rodon under his wing, and you've seen over the last 3 starts how good Carlos Rodon has been. CC Sabathia, he credits his career was saved because of Andy Pettitte. When CC Sabathia lost the velocity in his fastball, Andy Pettitte is who taught him how to throw a cutter. Andy Pettitte is who taught him how to operate that strike zone from east to west and not worrying about striking out guys left and right. Gio, what's your thoughts about Andy Pettitte and his future as a Yankee coach?
I think as long as Andy wants to be here, the Yankees should allow him unlimited access to all of our pitchers, lefty or righty, doesn't matter. That mentality and his bulldog mentality is what some of these guys need. And Carlos Rodon and Gerrit Cole, they have that. But they haven't had the quote unquote Yankee success yet. And he's had Pettitte has had every accolade known as a pitcher. So this is good. I was hoping that the move with him coming on board was to work with Carlos Rodon and Nestor and some of these lefties to, broaden the horizon. Like, I know Carlos Rodon is notorious a 2-pitch pitcher, but I think he's seen the benefit of mixing in a couple more pitches. The East is a beast. We keep saying that, and it's different than any other division in baseball. And the AL Central could get away with a fastball slider, and the NL you probably get away with a fastball slider, but not in the AL East with the big bats in Boston, Toronto, Tampa. He got hit hard, and Pettitte's gonna be great if he wants to be an assistant pitching coach to eventually take over from Matt Blake. If and when probably the analytics of Matt Blake gets stale, we have a perfect replacement of that old school and new school mix of Andy Pettitte.
And correction, Willie Randolph, he came up with the Pirates. It's his last year before he went to the Mets. He was with Milwaukee. So sorry about that. Thanks, Frank, for the correction in the chat. But yeah, I agree with you. I see my guy Tim on Twitter. He said the Yankees should give Don Mattingly the chance as a manager, Willie Randolph as a bench coach, Andy Pettitte as your pitching coach, Paul O'Neill as your hitting coach, and David Cone as the GM, not Derek Jeter. Put Tino Martinez and Bernie Williams as your third base and first base coaches. Now that'll produce a winner. Listen, that's a Yankees fantasy team when it comes to the coaching staff or whatever. But I do like Willie Randolph, like I said, not as a bench coach, as a manager. I think he should be the manager of the team. Paul O'Neill, he talks about hitting a lot. I'm not sure if Paul O'Neill wants to become a hitting coach. But I do like the idea of David Cone as a GM, right? What's your thoughts on David Cone real quick before we continue? Go ahead, G.
I don't know. Like I like what the ideas David Cone has to say, as a broadcaster. And I love his ideas and his, he's he's a pitching nerd. So I think as a GM, maybe he will help develop a lot of great pitching. I just don't know how that would work, just with some of our younger guys and what his knowledge and what he can bring would really benefit the Yankees as a GM. I would love to see, David Cohen as like a head of our pitching department throughout all the Yankees, going to the minor leagues and
Yeah.
teaching the philosophy and explaining the new school analytics with some of the old school style of pitching. Just like you said, east to west, north to south. It's not just about hitting the top of the zone with this amount of RPMs. It's also about mixing that pitch in multiple quadrants so that it keeps hitters, off balance. That type of thing. Like I would like to see him do that. That's where his strong suit is, just that pitching, and I will keep him in that area, that scope of things.
Yeah, no, definitely. Whatever happens, they need to switch things up. I see Adam Landsman, he has it that Willie Randolph is 69. Patrick Sinclair just put Buck Showalter and Bruce Bochy are 68 and 67 respectfully. When it comes to Willie, at 69, 69 is the new 48, so why not, right? I'm not too opposed when it comes to the older managers, because that's what we grew up with. We grew up with managers being in their 60s and 70s and being members of the AARP club at the same time. So that's what we're used to. If you guys want to go back to an old school way of thinking, I wouldn't be opposed to Willie Randolph. And like Anna Marie says, that shit don't crack. Willie will be fine. Absolutely. Samantha T says, you guys, y'all need guys who actually won something. Yeah. And now, when it comes to Dylan Lawson, right? When he was the coach here, I know a lot of people made a big thing about him not being a major league player. And, you hear it in the broadcast, and Paul O'Neill brought it up and David Cohn brought it up as a little bit of shade towards Dylan Lawson, saying that the impact that Sean Casey brings, because Sean Casey was a guy that he knows what it feels like to be in an 0 for 20 slump and how to get out of that. And that's something that Dylan Lawson, he never experienced, right? He has no anecdotal evidence of being in the batter's box when it comes to looking at an 0 for 20 slump and trying to figure out, okay, I just need to go to left field just because I need to get back into the groove of things. Sean Casey has done that. And we've pointed it out with Gleyber Torres, with DJ LeMahieu. Those two have benefited the most with Sean Casey coming here. Now, I'm not sure if it's just those players figuring out or it's just an anomaly of Sean Casey. What's your thoughts on that real quick, G's?
Yeah, the baseball MLB, like making the major league roster is a brotherhood, right? So
True.
It's similar to like the podcast community, right? Say I started a channel yesterday, and I'm coming on as a guest right now and telling you, Hector, how to run your show. You shouldn't have this graphic up. You be like, come on, bro, you just got here. Calm down.
Yeah.
It's the same philosophy. Like, he's never been in the trenches with guys. He's never done the 162 over X amount of years. He's never had to do the 0 for 40. And as a major leaguer, you might have done it as a college player. Cute. College is completely different than even double A or single A. So it's a brotherhood, and I'm sure these guys respect people that have come before them, that have played this game, that's had success. Casey hasn't won anything. He hasn't won any championships. It's nothing like that. But he's had a good career average, and he can relate to some of these guys that have struggled and had to rebuild his swing and rebuild his career. That means a lot, especially coming from someone like Dylan Lawson, who just looked at an iPad and said, "Hey, hit strikes hard." Like, no duh, little leaguers. You teach them that. Hit strikes hard.
Yeah. I want to shout out to my guy D-Rod that's in the chat, who says, because you're a great player, that doesn't translate to being a great coach / executive or the desire to do that. And he said, ask Magic Johnson, which you get some cases of some great players trying a job in the front office or coach, and it don't work out. But then you get some guys like Michael Jordan, for instance, is that's a good one right there. But look at a guy like Barry Bonds, right? I don't think anybody thought Barry Bonds would be a good hitting coach. He went to Miami. Look what he did for Christian Yelich. Just a few tweaks here and there. Christian Yelich had his best seasons after Barry Bonds was his hitting coach in Miami. He went to Milwaukee and won an MVP, right?
Yep.
So there's some guys that can do it, and there's some guys that can't. Or you got your guys that are like Mel Stoudemire, who was a solid starting pitcher, who became a great pitching coach at the same time. Joe Torre, who won an MVP, if I'm not mistaken, I think with the Cardinals, who was a solid hitter, but then became a great manager. So you do have those occasions where it kind of translates. Samantha T said, that's very true, D-Rob, but if you have a choice between someone with experience on winning or another Boone, I know who I'm picking. Yeah. Sean Browning throws in John Elway. Yeah, that's a good one right there. Hold on 1 second. Just want to highlight another one before we continue. Dr. Hiskin says, I think the Yankees need a GM with experience and not Cashman. And yeah, I think that's something that us Yankee fans, when it comes to Brian Cashman, like I said, you credit him for the times that we won. You credit him for the consistency of being a team that went to the playoffs almost every year, if not every season. I get it. As a Yankee fan, we do get a little spoiled, right? Because when you look at other fan bases like the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Cincinnati Reds, the San Diego Padres, when you look at other fan bases, the Colorado Rockies, we get it. Us Yankee fans, we should be blessed that we have an organization that we've been making the postseason every year. We get that. But on the flip side of that, when us fans, we are baseball fans when it comes down to it. And when you see moves that are being made that aren't good baseball moves, that's, I think, what gets us ticked off more than anything, Gio. It's not the fact that, yes, we make the postseason every year. That's not the issue. The issue is when a move is made and us as baseball fans, we look at that move and we say, you know what? That's not a smart baseball move. We're the ones that we get told that we're ungrateful. We're the ones that we get told that we don't know what we're talking about. But you started the season with no left fielder. Look what happened this season. You came into the season thinking that Josh Donaldson was going to bounce back after he had the worst season of his career last year. Look what happens, right? You swung and missed. You didn't get Shohei Ohtani. You already have Aaron Judge. What do? You trade for someone who's basically an older version of Aaron Judge, who has injury histories and who is getting paid more money than Aaron Judge is getting paid. Those aren't smart baseball moves, Gio.
Nope. Yeah, my biggest qualm with the Yankees front office is that they piss on us and they tell us it's raining. That's just my biggest thing. I'm okay with Cashman trying trying things. You know, I'm okay with that. Like, you want to try the Giancarlo Stanton after MVP season, cool. You want to try the Josh Donaldson because he was a previous MVP and at the time you thought his defense and bat was probably better than Gio Urshela. Okay, you know, hindsight's 2020. But the fact that he just doesn't admit that the fact that he was wrong. That's what really gets to me as with Cashman and just the front office. If you know, other GMs would say, you know what, we bet big, we lost, but you know what, we have that in the back of our mind now. We made a mistake. We were trying not to do it again. Accountability, man. Just that alone would go so far for a Yankee fan. But they just pick on us and say, hey, don't worry about that. It's just a light drizzle outside, guys.
And also, moves that us fans wanted him to make that he made, Carlos Rodon, I don't think there's any fan, or I think that's like 95% of the fan base, we wanted to get Carlos Rodon. We got Carlos Rodon. He got injured. Copy. That shouldn't be the doom of your season, though.
Exactly.
Because, yes, you added Carl, but you should have other pieces in place. So in case an injury happens, next man up mentality. It's the fact that we came into the season with Carlos Rodon, injured pitcher, injury history. Nestor Cortez, he had injuries towards the end of the season. You traded for a guy in Frankie Montas thinking that you was going to get something. He was injured when you traded for him, and he's in Scranton right now. I swear to God, Gio, if Frankie Montas pitches for the Yankees this year, I'm going to lose my goddamn mind. If he makes it up here at the end of the season, the last 2-3 games of the end of the season, and he pitches coming out of the bullpen, I'm gonna lose my damn mind, Gio. I'm gonna tell you that. What's your thoughts on that before we throw it the link to the open panel to get people up here?
Yeah, I want to get everyone's take, so I'm gonna keep it real short. I'm frustrated as a Yankee fan. I'm just keep it like that. All the moves, whether they were right or wrong, I'm okay with a GM making decisions that, taking chances. Just at the end of the season, yeah, you can't talk down on your players and say, hey, this guy fucking sucked. But you can sit there and say, okay, maybe we made a mistake. Some decisions, you don't have to even name names. Some decisions we made this season probably didn't pan out. And we shot our shot and we missed. We'll do better next year and get on track, get back on track. Don't sit there and tell me
definitely
you're crazy if you don't think Josh Donaldson's gonna bounce back season. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, definitely. But we're sitting on 35 likes right now. If you guys can, we got 42 people in the building. Just smack that like button. Let's get the likes up to 40 for the stream. I'm going to throw the link in for the open panel. But like always, when it comes to the open panel, just let's be respectful to everybody. Let's follow the rules. We got to abide by YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter terms of services. Even though Twitter doesn't care about terms of services, we still got to listen to them, right? So like I said, be respectful to everyone that comes up onto the open panel. If someone is in the middle of giving their take, let them finish. That way you could be able to finish your take at the same time. I'm going to switch it over to the open panel real quick, and we would be right back. Hold on 1 second, because this is the thing. We got these buttons and we got these graphics. There we go. Open panel. Okie dokie. Okay, we'll be back.
Yeah, we back.
And we're back. So the link is in the chat right now for the open panel. We're going to throw it around to people. That's if anybody wants to come up here and have a conversation on the open panel. You're more than welcome to. If this is your first time and if you've never joined the open panel, you're more than welcome to join the open panel. I'm going to bring up someone that's backstage right now to join the open panel.
Bank,
and yes,
but
it was surprise.
It's not digital. They write a fucking check out.
Oh, I guess there's cursing going on that stream. I see Celso is on the open panel. Can you hear me, Celso? Are you backstage, Celso? Oh, you're muted. I can't hear you.
Heck, a piece of paper like this big.
Okay, well, that's Celso's screen talking about a piece of paper. So we're going to remove Celso from the open panel. We got Sunil in the building. Sunil, you taking your medicine? You eating your orange? What you doing?
Yeah, I'm having my usual, healthy food stuff. What's going on, guys?
What's going on?
Nothing much. Just throwing it around real quick. Like I said, today is Fire Brian Cashman Day. So we're just having a conversation here, Sunil. I know we get tired of these conversations with Brian Cashman, but what's your thoughts real quick as our guy Viking in the chat is calling you a creep? Go ahead, Sunil.
Ooh.
Vikings, you must be from Minnesota to have that kind of a screen name, first of all. Because you guys are just jealous. We had Brett Favre and now Aaron Rodgers before you finally get to him.
But Sunil, what's your thoughts today, September 22nd, Fire Brian Cashman Day? The floor is yours, young man.
So why don't you post, flash my screen name across the bottom? It has the Fire Boone mentioned in there too. That's yeah. It says, remember Al Padrique? That's the guy who I would rather. Yeah. That's the guy who was being considered for manager at the same time Boone was interviewing as well. He interviewed before. He was in our minor league system. He was Shelley Duncan before Shelley Duncan as a AAA manager. He had every right to be if you wanted to bring somebody up within the system as manager. He had every, I'm struggling for the word here, but he had the relationship with the AAA guys coming up. The Gary Sanchez, the Aaron Judge, and everybody who basically came up at that time with the core. Mm-hmm. And yet you bypassed him for somebody who had one fucking home run, excuse the language, and got us to a promised land 20 years ago. think about that one, and like you guys brought up multiple times in your points, basically, he doesn't really know the Yankee culture. He basically, was up here for half a season. He had one prominent, lucky stroke off a knuckleball pitcher. He hit Wakefield's pitch, luckily, to end it in the 11th inning on one October night in 2003. And that's who you want, and that's who you want as Yankee manager. Yeah, okay. Just because he said the magic words that I believe in analytics, I will use it right. Yeah, we're seeing what's happening with the analytics.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me started on the Vic DeVittetto takes on analytics. he had a couple of videos ago where he went off on his diatribe on that.
Shout out my guy Blue Gold that's in the chat. But you bring up an interesting part, and that's why I just had to look it up real quick. When the Yankees traded for Aaron Boone, he was an all-star that year with the Cincinnati Reds, but that was the only time he was an all-star. But when you look at Aaron Boone's stats with the Yankees, when he was with Cincinnati, he was hitting .273. He had 18 home runs and 65 RBIs. When he was with the New York Yankees for the rest of the 2003 season, Aaron Boone hit .254. He only had 6 home runs, 31 RBIs, and his strikeout rate almost doubled coming over here with the Yankees. So, to your point, Sunil, not trying to discredit Aaron Boone, the baseball player, because Aaron Boone was a phenomenal baseball player for the time that he played. But my whole thing with the hiring of Aaron Boone, and Gio, we've talked about it, and I brought it up on the last show, was the fact that the Yankees said the reason why they hired Aaron Boone was that they needed a manager who can connect with Gary Sanchez, right? The Yankees needed a manager who can get to the base level of Gary Sanchez and get the best out of him. Gio, you know me. If that's the case, you should have gave it to Tony Pena. If that's the case, you should have made Tony Pena the manager for the fact that, one, Tony Pena was a catcher. 2, Tony Pena is Dominican, and he speaks the language. So if you wanted a manager who can connect with Gary Sanchez, it should have been Tony Pena. And then even after Gary Sanchez is gone, that manager that you brought in that wasn't able to get the best out of Gary, because he was brought here to what, Gio? Get the best out of Gary Sanchez. And what happened? The Yankees traded Gary Sanchez because they couldn't get the best out of him. So how is the manager that was hired to get the best out of the player still here when that player is not here? Go ahead, Gio.
And that's like the cherry on top of this whole thing. You notice that he doesn't get what he's supposed. He doesn't inspire, get the most out of these guys. He sits there and he's like a dose of melatonin. Like, and your point about Tony Pena, yes, he probably would have been the best replacement for Gary Sanchez, but the Yankees, Cashman wanted to employ this full analytic thing all the way down from the front office to the manager. And this happened after Hank died and House took over, and he just wanted to make a straight, direct beeline straight to the manager. And that's why Aaron Boone, because Pena is not going to sit there and be like, you're not going to tell me my lineup. You're not going to tell me who I can pitch when I can pitch them. You've never played this game. I have. And that's the problem. They want managers that are one in experience so that they can go in there and groom them to buy into the Yankee brainwash mentality of analytic first. And it would be great if it worked. It doesn't work with this team, this group. They just need to go backwards a little bit. Like, yes, you can't get rid of it completely, but you have to bring in somebody of the ilk of Willie Randolph and Tony Pena now to sift through the analytic BS and only give the players what they need. And then get them over, guys. They need a little kick in the ass, like especially like Glaber and some of these guys. They just need a real good lashing in the clubhouse. Coming to my office.
It coming to my office. You remember when Robinson Cano was coming up? Robinson Cano, he feared Larry Bowa. He feared getting Larry Bow upset. And everyone used to get on Cano because his lackadaisical playing and, you know, he was not giving 100% effort. But when Larry Bow was there, he wasn't doing that. Is Sunil good? Sunil, you frozen? Hold on, I'm going to just remove you from the panel until the camera works out. But Sunil, refresh your feed and jump back in. I think everybody's trying to buy your house, actually. There you go. You got Sunil left backstage. Sunil, jump back in. I'll bring you back upstage. You got Samantha T saying how she loves the staircase in Sunil's house, but she got to see the kitchen and the bathroom. Absolutely. Those are important places to check out before you buy a kitchen and a bathroom. There you go, Sunil. I think the Wi-Fi messed up because everybody wanted to buy your house at the same time. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's not up for bid. Sorry. Yeah, it's the furthest geographical location you can think of, furthest away from Yankee Stadium. So good luck, people. Unless you're TC Steels and you want, unless you're TC Steels and you want to inch closer to the East Coast. Sorry, you're not getting it.
Well, soon TC is in the city right now, running around acting a lunatic. I see TC and KC Funtime, they're both in the chat. If you guys want to jump on to the open panel, the link for the open panel is down there. And if there's anybody in the chat, if you want to jump up for the open panel, you're more than welcome to jump up. If my guy Sean Browning, Anthony Garcia, Damian Sharano, Samantha T, Anna Marie, if anybody want to come up, you're more than welcome to. Shout out to my guy, the Bleacher Creatures, that is in the chat. Salute, 3 capital S.
We won't fight, but unless you want us to.
That's a fact. But Sunil, when it comes down to it, if there are changes that are going to happen, I think it will come in the way of the manager. Like me and Gio was saying, I think Boone will be the sacrificial lamb when all things are said, if anyone was to go either out of the two, Boone or Cashman. What's your thoughts about that before I bring up someone who's backstage?
So this will be probably, let me see, the third or fourth time. So you had Torrey, who basically went to the playoffs every year up until 2007 as a manager. He did not miss the playoffs.
The last
once.
Yankee manager. Hold on, the last Yankee manager to go to the World Series multiple times, because Joe Girardi only went there once.
Exactly. Yeah, that too. I mean, Joe Girardi as a player under Torrey went there, too. But that's on a different context of conversation. But you had Torrey, who was basically scapegoated and underpaid and whatever. He was lowballed and he bounced for the West Coast. Enter Joe Girardi. Joe Girardi stayed a decade, made the playoffs his fair share number of times, missed playoffs, 3-4 seasons, 12, 13, 14. They made the wild card play-in game in 15, missed it in 16. And then 17, he was one game away from the World Series. He became a sacrificial lamb. So this is going to complete the trifecta where Cashman stays, manager goes. And it's really time to, go ahead.
No, I was gonna add on because Louis G in the chat, they said a perfect chat to like piggyback off what you're saying.
Yeah.
Boone doesn't call the shots. It doesn't matter who or what the yes man is or what a yes man is. And I think Louis, what he was trying to say is Aaron Boone doesn't call the shot. So it doesn't matter who the person is there that's going to be the manager, because it's still going to be a yes man when it comes down to it. So if you guys can just hold on just 1 second. I got someone backstage that I want to bring up. It's their first time on the open panel. We got Sean Browning back there. Sean Browning, let me get a thumbs up before I bring you up to the chat. There's my guy, Sean Browning, right there. Sean, how you doing, my guy? Welcome to the convo.
Yeah, I'm doing all right. I thought I'd try it out. And once you shouted me out, I was like, you know what?
Listen, Sean, I appreciate you always being in the chat, always watching us, always giving us your support. I just noticed right now you aren't a moderator on the channel. I'm going to make you a moderator after this show. So once this show is over, the next time you be in the chat, you see the wrench right next to your name. So you get some being able to be a mod, just in case anybody in the chat is going out of pocket. But Sean, I appreciate you, bro, for always showing support, always showing us love. So we had to get you on the open panel, my guy. How you feeling?
Oh, I'm doing all right. The thing when we're talking about Willie Randolph,
Go ahead.
you notice how he's respected by the league for all three generations. The generation he played with, the generation that he coached, and the generation that's currently going. Everybody respects him. He deserves that shot as a manager.
Mm-hmm.
It was like Zimmer and Torrey. They not only brought experience, respected, you know, they were legends in their own right.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody got together and the whole team meshed together and they played well. I'm not saying that, you know, that the players didn't play well themselves. They did. But you could tell that, you know, they respected Zimmer and Torrey. I mean, Jeter always called him Mr. T.
But it's funny that you bring that up, right? Because as you were saying that, it just popped in my head. I'm not sure if you're a basketball fan or anything like that. For those of you that are NBA fans, a lot of people talk about the San Antonio Spurs and how a lot of those assistant coaches go on to become good coaches on other teams. For some reason in baseball, they don't have that. You don't have the Joe Torre coaching tree, right? Because like you said, Joe Torre, Don Zimmer, Willie Randolph comes from that environment of hanging around Joe Torre and a Don Zimmer. So that coaching tree, it's not like that in baseball like it is in basketball or in other sports. You see it in football as well. That's something that always struck me wrong. So when you bring up that Willie Randolph, he comes from the old school mindset of a Don Zimmer, of a Joe Torre. If there's anyone that Yankee fans would embrace, I think it would be Willie Randolph, Sean. I don't think I'm out of pocket for saying that. What's your thoughts on that? And let's throw it over to Gio and then Sunil to get their thoughts on it.
No. Oh, you're right on that. Because I mean, looking at college football, you remember both Joe Pa and Bobby Bowden at FSU in the 70s and 80s. But look at this. Jimbo Fisher was assistant of him. There were so many others that were assistant of Bobby Bowden. Even Nick Saban benefited. Deion Sanders was a player under him.
Yep.
And then in the NFL, you got the Bill Belichick tree. You got the Andy Reid tree. But in baseball, it's hard to find. There's a lot
which I think is odd. Like I think they should start leaning into that. If there's a man like Tony La Russa, for some reason, whoever was his bench coach, I can't even think of his name off the top of my head, but whoever was Tony La Russa bench coach for some years should have been a manager with some other team. Same thing, whoever was under Bobby Cox when Bobby Cox was winning the NL East for the Atlanta Braves, that bench coach should have been a manager with another team. So I definitely agree. Baseball is missing the opportunity when it comes to that, Sean.
Yeah, and
I want to throw it over to Gio real quick to get his take on that, and then let's throw it over to Sunil to get his take before we start wrapping things up to get ready for the to get out of here. Go ahead, G.
I'm sorry, I'm just mesmerized about Sunil eating a damn orange. I'm over here.
I know. He don't care. He gonna eat his orange. That's the one thing. Sunil gonna make sure he eat his damn orange.
No, I agree with you guys 100%. The MLB is lacking a lot of things, and some of the decisions they make doesn't make sense. But I'll keep it short. But yeah, I agree. There should be more opportunities, especially in house, where you have like minor league coaches that can come up and grow within the organization as well. So
yeah. I'm listen. I got my eggs in a basket for Willie Randolph, and I'm going to keep on saying it. Willie Randolph, before anything happens, he needs to be the manager for the New York Yankees before he retires. Sunil, I see you're still there. Sunil, let me get your thoughts on it because we're going to start wrapping things up to get out of here for the rest of the day. Go ahead, Sunil. What's your thoughts on the convo?
Yeah, so definitely Willie Randolph. If not, I was going to say to our most recent captain, his co-anchorman, if you want to call it that, bring in Jorge. Jorge has that, take charge mentality. Whenever Jeter was a captain, he was basically the guy who held everybody accountable Yeah, the co-captain. And right now, if you want to talk about another change to be made for next year, I think Gerrit Cole is a good candidate for co-captain next to Judge because he's very vocal about the things. You see the faces he made when Aaron Hicks was out in left field fucking this shit up?
Language, Sunil. Language, Sunil.
Yeah, I know, but you know, you sometimes you have to add the flavor.
We got a young man, Sean Browning, here for the first time. We don't want to scare him off, right, Sunil? God damn it.
I've already scared him off in the chat a number of times. He knows that.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I was in the army. You can't scare me.
Oh, you good?
Yeah.
Listen, thank you for your service, Sean. Thank you for your service, brother. But I see some people in the chat. My guy Blue Gold says Yadi Molina. I wouldn't be opposed to Yadi, right? That's someone that I brought up as a possible candidate as a Yankees manager. If not Yadi, I like the idea of his brother Benji Molina. Benji Molina, who was the radio broadcaster for the St. Louis Cardinals, calling the Spanish games. But Benji has expressed how he wants to manage someday in MLB. So I wouldn't be opposed to either of the Molina brothers coming over. But we're about to start wrapping things up. We appreciate everybody for joining us real quick on the conversation. Gio, my guy, thank you. I know this was last minute, but I appreciate you stepping up. Shout out to my brother TC Stills. I know he's running around the city right now. Got a shout out to Sunil for jumping on the open panel. My guy Sean Browning, because it was his first time. And shout out to the chat as well. Shout out to my guy Blue Gold. Shout out to Anna Marie. I know the F-bombs today were crazy. We got to watch the language. D-Rod, that was in the chat. My guy, the Bleacher Creature, TC Stills, D-Rod, Dr. Hitskings, Anthony Medina. I can't wait to see you tomorrow, my brother. Samantha T, that was in the chat as well. Anthony Garcia, AK-47. But Sean Browning, this was your first time on the open panel. So like always, the first time has got to close us out. Close us out. Let the people know when we'll be back next Tuesday. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah. 2 changes that we ought to make this offseason is to scrap the whole analytic department because the whole launch angle nonsense, it don't work. Get back to the old hit and run, all the different other things. But also the medical staff. I grew up with a mom who was Navy hospital corpsman for 16 and a half years. Nice. So I understand somehow, like, when injuries come, you know, they come. But when it's like too many of them and they're missed and treatments don't work, there's something wrong with that, you know. And that ought to get changed. And then, I mean, we definitely should go all in for Yamamoto and Jung-Ho Lee. I mean, it'd be nice if we get Nola, but, you know, and maybe we offer something to Bellinger. That would be awesome, too. But if we go all in for those 2 and we continue with the balance of youth and veterans, we have a better chance next year to go all the way to the World Series.
I agree with you, Sean Browning. Hopefully, wherever he's at in the world, Brian Casper just heard my guy Sean Browning, who said, you better go all in this offseason. We better not come back next year with the same team that we came for this season. Because if so, Sunil will hit you in the goddamn head with an orange. Sunil, my guy, I appreciate you. Gio, I appreciate you. Sean Browning, make sure you join the open panels in the future, Sean. Love hearing your insight. Shout out to your family as well. Thank you guys for your service. But like always, salute, salute, salute. 3 capital S's. And it's always a peace out. Deuces.
Really, y'all don't know this, y'all in danger.